There are moments in history when nature reminds us of our vulnerability. Moments when the earth itself seems to rebel against human civilization. What you're about to hear is not a story of recovery. It's not a tale of resilience. This is the account of how an entire city was erased in a matter of hours. How the capital of St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, a thriving hub of commerce and life, was reduced to something that can only be described as apocalyptic. This is Black River after Hurricane Melissa, and nothing could have prepared anyone for what unfolded on October 28, 2025. At approximately 2 in the afternoon, the waters of the Caribbean Sea transformed. What had been a constant, predictable presence for generations suddenly became a weapon of unimaginable force. The ocean didn't just rise, it attacked. A storm surge, driven by Category 5 winds exceeding 184 miles per hour, slammed into the southwestern coast of Jamaica with a violence that defies comprehension. But here's what made Hurricane Melissa truly catastrophic. It didn't just strike and move on. It lingered. It stayed. It ground this city into dust with methodical, merciless precision. The commercial heart of Black River, a district that had stood for generations, was obliterated in the first wave. Concrete walls, some nearly 2 feet thick, were torn apart like paper. Steel doors were ripped from their frames and carried inland. The ocean didn't discriminate. It consumed everything. Bakeries that had served families for decades, markets where children bought snacks after school, banks, medical facilities, clothing stores, hardware shops, all of it gone, not damaged, not destroyed, erased. What remains now is a landscape so foreign, so utterly transformed, that residents who have lived here their entire lives cannot identify where they are standing. Imagine walking through your hometown and recognizing nothing. Not a single landmark except perhaps the skeletal remains of a church tower. That's the reality in Black River today. The storm didn't just take buildings. It rewrote geography. The coastline itself has been reshaped. Streets that once bustled with vendors and schoolchildren are now buried under mountains of rubble, tangled metal, and sand dredged up from the ocean floor. The ground is no longer pavement. It's a treacherous wasteland of debris, broken glass, twisted rebar, and stones that were once part of the seabed, now deposited miles inland. Before we go further into this devastating story, I need your help. We're working hard to document what's happening in Jamaica, to bring you authentic, substantive content that the mainstream media often overlooks. If you appreciate this kind of real, boots-on-the-ground reporting, please hit that subscribe button. We're pushing toward 20,000 subscribers, and your support makes all the difference. Leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from, and share this video with anyone who needs to understand the true scale of what happened here. Your engagement helps us continue this important work. Now let's talk about what happened in the hours immediately after Melissa passed. Black River wasn't just destroyed. It was isolated, completely cut off from the rest of Jamaica. The main roads connecting the city to other parishes were impassable, blocked by flooding, downed power lines, and debris fields stretching for miles. For nearly 24 hours, the residents of Black River were trapped in what can only be described as a survival scenario. No electricity, no running water, no communication with the outside world, and critically, no food. This is where the situation deteriorated from disaster to crisis. Imagine being surrounded by the ruins of your city, not knowing if help is coming, watching your children grow hungry, and realizing that the grocery stores, the bakeries, the markets, everything is destroyed. But the food is still there, buried under rubble, locked behind broken doors and twisted security grates. What would you do? This is not a question of morality. This is a question of survival, and survival doesn't wait for permission. Across the commercial district, desperate residents began breaking into what remained of the stores. Security grills were pried open with whatever tools people could find. Windows already shattered by the hurricane were cleared. Locked doors were forced. Inside these ruined establishments, people weren't looking for jewelry or electronics. They were searching for water, for bread, for canned goods, for anything to feed their families. The scene was chaotic, frantic, and heartbreaking. This wasn't looting in the criminal sense. This was humanity pushed to its absolute limit. The scale of this desperation reveals something crucial about the magnitude of Melissa's impact. This wasn't a storm that knocked out power for a few days. This wasn't flooding that receded after a night. This was a complete systemic collapse. Every support structure that modern society depends on was simultaneously severed. The electrical grid destroyed, water treatment and distribution offline, food supply chains severed, medical facilities rendered inoperative, communication networks down. In an instant, Black River was thrust backward in time, stripped of every convenience and safety net that 21st century life provides. The death toll from Hurricane Melissa remains uncertain, but the human cost extends far beyond casualties. Thousands have been displaced. Families who owned homes for generations are now homeless. Business owners who invested their life savings into shops and restaurants have lost everything. Employees who depended on those businesses for their livelihoods are now unemployed, with no prospects for work because there are no businesses left to employ them. The economic devastation will reverberate through this community for decades. Let's put this into perspective. Black River wasn't just a town. It was an economic engine for the entire parish of St. Elizabeth. It was where people came for banking, for shopping, for medical care, for legal services, for education. The high school, severely damaged. The hospital, devastated, now operating out of temporary field stations set up by relief organizations. The courthouse, one of the few structures still partially recognizable, stands as a hollow monument to a city that no longer exists around it. The Anglican Church, a historical landmark built in the 1700s with yellow bricks imported from England, has been reduced to scattered rubble. For centuries, this church stood as a testament to human craftsmanship and faith. It survived hurricanes, earthquakes, and the passage of time itself. Hurricane Melissa destroyed it in hours. If a structure that endured for over 200 years couldn't withstand this storm, what does that tell us about the forces at work here? Walking through Black River today is a sensory assault. The air is thick with dust, a choking mixture of pulverized concrete, drywall, and sand. Every gust of wind sends clouds of particulate matter swirling through the ruins. Residents cover their faces with cloth, but there's no escaping it. You taste it, you breathe it, it coats everything. And beneath the dust there are other smells. Stagnant water pooling in the wreckage, breeding mosquitoes and disease. The unmistakable stench of decay, not just vegetation, but animals trapped and killed in the surge. This is a public health catastrophe waiting to explode. The infrastructure damage is almost impossible to comprehend. Telephone poles, including the newer concrete ones designed to withstand hurricanes, were uprooted and tossed aside like matchsticks. Transformers lie scattered in the streets, useless metal carcasses that once powered an entire city. ATM machines were torn from their moorings, some missing entirely, carried away by the floodwaters or taken in the chaos that followed. The banking system in Black River has essentially ceased to exist. Even if stores were operational, there's no cash economy to support them. Water has become the most precious commodity. In a coastal city surrounded by the Caribbean Sea, drinkable water is now rarer than gold. The treatment facilities are destroyed. The pipes are compromised. Every drop of clean water must be brought in from outside, and in those first critical days, there simply wasn't enough. People who managed to find bottled water in the ruins hoarded it jealously, not out of greed but out of fear. Fear that tomorrow, there would be none at all. What's perhaps most disturbing is the psychological landscape. Residents stand at the water's edge, staring at the sea that betrayed them. There's a look in their eyes that's hard to describe. It's not quite grief, though grief is certainly there. It's deeper. It's a fundamental loss of trust in the world itself. The ocean was part of their identity, their livelihood, their daily backdrop. Now it's a threat. It's a reminder that everything they knew, everything they built could be taken away in an afternoon. The speed of the destruction is what haunts people. One moment life was normal. People were at work, children were in school, vendors were selling goods on street corners. Then the winds picked up. The water rose, and within hours it was over. There was no gradual decline, no slow deterioration. There was before, and there was after, with almost nothing in between. That kind of instantaneous transformation breaks something in the human psyche. Now comes the impossible question. What happens next? How do you rebuild a city when the city no longer exists? When the very ground it stood on has been fundamentally altered? The concrete buildings, the ones that survived in any recognizable form, proved more resilient than wooden structures. That's a lesson that will inform whatever comes after this. But here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Black River, as it was, cannot be rebuilt. Not in the same location. Not along that coastline. The risk is too great. The precedent has been set. If a Category 5 can obliterate this city so completely, then no amount of reinforced construction, no elevation standards, no building codes will provide adequate protection. The only rational response is to relocate, to move the city inland, away from the vulnerable coastline and establish it on higher, more protected ground. But that's not just a construction project. That's abandoning a location that has been inhabited for centuries. It's erasing the geographic identity of an entire community. And who pays for that? The government of Jamaica is dealing with storm damage across multiple parishes. International aid is flowing in, but it's a fraction of what's needed. Insurance companies, where policies even existed, will take months or years to process claims, and the payouts will be nowhere near sufficient to cover total reconstruction. The economic reality is stark. Most of the businesses in Black River will never reopen. Most of the displaced families will never return. Black River as a functioning city is, for all practical purposes, finished. Relief efforts are underway. Aid organizations have established distribution centers. A field hospital was set up at the high school to handle medical emergencies. Donated supplies, food, water, clothing, tarps, and basic necessities are being coordinated through volunteer networks. Individual citizens from across Jamaica and the diaspora are sending barrels of goods. Every contribution matters. Heavy-duty gloves for workers clearing rubble, tarps to provide temporary shelter, nails and basic tools for those attempting to salvage anything from the wreckage. Bottled water, always water. But let's be clear about what aid can and cannot do. Aid can keep people alive. It can provide short-term relief. It cannot restore what was lost. It cannot bring back the businesses, the jobs, the economic vitality that made Black River a functioning city. It cannot rebuild homes in time for the next hurricane season. And it cannot erase the trauma of watching your entire world collapse in a single afternoon. There's also the grim calculus of resource allocation. Every town and village along Jamaica's southern coast was impacted. Holland Bamboo, Savannah La Mar, communities in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth all suffered catastrophic damage. Relief organizations have to prioritize. They have to decide who gets help first, who waits, and tragically, who may not receive adequate assistance at all. Black River is getting attention because of its size and historical significance, but there are smaller communities equally devastated that aren't making headlines. The environmental damage is another layer of this catastrophe. The storm surge didn't just destroy human infrastructure. It devastated coastal ecosystems. Mangrove forests that provided natural barriers against storm surge were torn apart. Beaches were eroded away. Marine habitats were churned and buried under sediment. The fishing industry, a critical economic lifeline for coastal communities, has been decimated. Boats were destroyed, docks obliterated, and the near-shore waters contaminated with debris, fuel, and chemicals washed out from destroyed buildings. From a historical perspective, Hurricane Melissa will be remembered as one of the most destructive natural disasters in Jamaican history. The combination of intensity, slow movement, and direct impact on populated areas created a perfect storm of devastation. Meteorologists are already studying Melissa to understand how climate change may be influencing hurricane behavior. Warmer ocean temperatures provide more energy for storms. Rising sea levels amplify storm surge. These aren't abstract future concerns. They're the reality playing out in Black River right now. What Hurricane Melissa exposed is the fragility of our coastal communities. We build cities on coastlines because of economic opportunity, because of beauty, because of tradition. But we build them with an implicit assumption that nature will cooperate, or at least remain predictable. Melissa shattered that assumption. It demonstrated that a single weather event can undo centuries of human development in a matter of hours. And with climate patterns shifting, with sea levels rising, with hurricane intensity projected to increase, Black River may be a preview of what's coming for coastal communities around the world. The resilience of the human spirit is on full display in the aftermath. Despite losing everything, people are helping each other. Neighbors are sharing what little food they have. Volunteers are working in hazardous conditions to clear debris. Medical professionals are treating patients in tents with limited supplies. Teachers are thinking about how to restart education for children who have been traumatized. This isn't resilience because people are strong. It's resilience because there's no other option. You either keep moving forward or you give up entirely. But we need to be honest about the limits of resilience. You can be resilient and still be broken. You can survive and still have lost everything that made life worth living. The narrative of resilience, while inspiring, sometimes obscures the depth of suffering and the inadequacy of the response. The people of Black River don't need to be told they're strong. They need houses. They need jobs. They need a functioning city. Praising resilience without providing resources is empty sentiment. As days turn into weeks and weeks will turn into months, the true scale of this disaster will become clearer. The immediate crisis, the search for survivors, the distribution of emergency supplies, that phase will end. Then comes the long, grinding aftermath. The displacement that becomes permanent. The temporary shelters that become homes for years. The children whose education is disrupted, setting them back in ways that will affect their entire lives. The elderly who lose their independence and their dignity. The entrepreneurs who lose their dreams along with their businesses. There will be investigations, questions about whether more could have been done to prepare, to warn, to evacuate. Questions about building codes and zoning regulations. Questions about climate adaptation and disaster resilience planning. These are important questions, but for the people living in the ruins of Black River right now, they're academic. The storm already happened. The city is already destroyed. No investigation will change that. What we can learn from Hurricane Melissa is that our current approach to coastal development is unsustainable. We cannot continue building vulnerable communities in harm's way and then act surprised when nature demonstrates its power. We need to fundamentally rethink how we inhabit coastlines. That means stricter building codes, yes, but it also means managed retreat from the most vulnerable areas. It means investing in natural barriers like mangroves and coral reefs. It means early warning systems and evacuation infrastructure. And it means accepting that some places, no matter how historically significant, may no longer be safe to inhabit. The story of Black River is still being written. Right now, it's a story of devastation and survival. What it becomes in the years ahead depends on decisions being made today. Will there be a genuine commitment to rebuilding, not just structures, but lives and livelihoods? Will the international community provide sustained support, or will attention fade as the next crisis dominates headlines? Will Jamaica implement the hard lessons learned from Melissa? Or will political and economic pressures lead to rebuilding in place, setting the stage for future disaster? For now, Black River stands as a testament to the awesome power of nature and the fragility of human civilization. It's a city that existed for centuries, and in a single day, ceased to exist in any recognizable form. The people who called it home are scattered, their lives upended, their futures uncertain. The buildings that housed commerce and community are rubble. The streets that connected neighbors are obstacle courses of debris. The ocean that provided sustenance and beauty revealed itself as an existential threat. This is the reality of Hurricane Melissa, not a story of triumph over adversity, because the adversity hasn't been overcome. Not a tale of recovery, because recovery has barely begun. This is a documentation of loss, a recording of the moment when an entire community's way of life ended, and a warning to everyone living in the path of future storms. Nature is not defeated. Nature is not controlled. And when nature decides to remind us of that fact, the consequences are absolute. The capital of St. Elizabeth is unrecognizable not because of poor lighting or a bad camera angle. It's unrecognizable because it's gone. What stands in its place is a cautionary tale, written in broken concrete and scattered lives. A reminder that everything we build, everything we create, exists only because nature permits it. And when that permission is revoked, we are left with nothing but dust, debris, and the haunting question of what comes next. This is Black River after Hurricane Melissa. And this is what the end of a city looks like.